We cannot let ourselves get distracted by small victories when something very sinister can strike Super Earth at any time. The Ministry has been very vocal with their thoughts on this rumor and has been actively denying any evidence to suggest such a conspiracy. However, unfiltered spy intel has proposed that baleful horrors of the universe, known as the Illuminate, are scheming against Super Earth and are in talks to make themselves known once again in the Galactic War at any time. Information regarding the Illuminate has been buried deep down in the Ministry's archives. However, it may be time to dust it all off and dive into everything we know about this potential threat. This is not the first time Super Earth has seen the Illuminate race, and what better time to prepare and educate our ranks against them than this broadcast right now. We're going to get into the thick of why Joel might throw our formidable psychic foes back against us, and what the future of Helldivers 2 could look like. We'll be getting into some real good meat for all the Helldivers, so let's not waste any more time dwelling on the planet's ban on procreation services, and let's dig in. Make sure if you guys do enjoy this content to like and subscribe to the video. Appreciate it. It helps me a lot, and I love you. I mean that. Do I mean that? Yeah, I mean that. Helldivers is the predecessor to Arrowhead's latest title, and while it still has the guns, still has Super Earth, and still has the democracy, it's not quite a third-person shooter game. It's more so a top-down shooter. Shout out to my Dead Ops Arcade fans. But to give more credit where it's due, the first Helldivers laid down a lot of the groundwork that the second one walks on, especially when it comes to races and equipment. Helldivers 2 improved on almost everything with its arrival, taking massive steps into improving the franchise, solidifying itself into gaming history, and raising the bar. But though we have the Terranids and the Automatons at Helldivers 2's launch, we are missing the Illuminate race as an adversary, so it's not entirely unreasonable to suggest that they'd make a return. These psychic, veiny-brained fiends have been roaming the universe for centuries, before Super Earth ever declared itself to the galaxy. So, let's meet the Helldivers 1 Illuminate. The main frontline infantry units fronting the Illuminate cause in Helldivers 1 was the Striders and the Apprentices. Striders serve as the Illuminate heavy infantry unit, causing devastating electric damage to all of their foes, and typically arriving on the battlefield in groups of 3 to 5. Upon arriving at the fight, they will engage any Helldiver in the immediate vicinity and fight with their close quarters melee weapons, only needing a few hits to down any seasoned player. They are also donned with standard issue Illuminate shields that can save them from punishing Helldivers' attacks. Apprentices are seen among every battle where the Illuminate are present, and will generally accompany any high-ranking officer. They're a light-armored, melee-focused combatant with some ranged means to slow players down in order to approach and attack them. These things are no joke, as they are willing to put everything on the line for reverence in their own society to become what's known as an illusionist. Illusionists are highly renowned beings of their own right, and use this classic powerful Illuminate shield for protection. They are also granted advanced nanotechnology to forcefully control any sentient being it chooses, and strikes an apathetic feeling and fear into Helldivers. This mind control takes the form of momentarily reversing the player's movement, shooting, and even stratagem inputs. They are ruthless in combat, and would typically only be seen in higher tier planets. Council members are illusionists turned up to the max level. Not only does their technological and combat capabilities hit much harder, within Illuminate society, they also gain diplomatic favor and are essentially the masters that dictate the actions of their entire species. They gain the mind control powers their counterparts have, and light up the battlefield with very concentrated electric attacks. Also, gaining the ability to teleport around the player's line of fire to avoid damage. They typically only appear quite infrequently on high-level planets, causing mayhem to anyone that crosses their path. And the biggest of them all, the Great Eye. The Great Eye is a giant Illuminate machine, powered by artificial intelligence that oversees all over Illuminate society, correcting any mannerisms or behaviors that go against the race. A battle against the Great Eye can only be accessed on special planets after the player gains a certain hand against the Illuminate faction. The Great Eye will launch multiple homing missiles onto the player to damage and cause confusion like their friends. They initially spawn with many Strider enemies to help defend. As you deplete its health, the guard troop is reinforced by apprentices. And as the battle against it reaches a climax, you will be fighting a plethora of the faction's finest illusionists, putting everything they have in their kit to stop you. I'm sure if we ever see this thing in battle, it would be undoubtedly a giant raid boss for you and your fellow Helldivers to focus all of your efforts on. In the current Helldivers patch, the only main cause of arc and plasma damage comes from the player's equipment, such as the Tesla Tower, and no actual enemy type. The Illuminate harbor an extensive variety of electric attacks in the first Helldivers game, and as we're dealing with an ancient yet hyper-advanced civilization, it would be safe to assume that if the Illuminate make their way to the game, they will utilize both of these damage types to their fullest potential. Whether it's a small apprentice or a giant metal squid eye, there is no explicit electric damage type, but I'm sure Arc and Plasma would succeed as their main source of damage, considering our options for defending against that in the game right now. I'd hope Joel doesn't stage a surprise attack on us anytime soon, but I did just see him give somebody else a vehicle, so you never know. Okay, yeah. When I say if the Illuminate make their way to this game, I really mean they probably will, or more likely will, or just will. This is the part of the broadcast where we get into the reason for all of this speculation about the Illuminates making a return. Our favorite Super Earth spies have been doing everything they can to uncover anything we don't know that may threaten our people and our livelihood on Super Earth. And deep into the Helldivers 2 game files was the best place to look for some. I once again have ministry permission to break these data mine photos down to shed some light and some clues. These X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and Helldivers League subreddit posts allegedly show Illuminate enemies that we may have to face. The first one we see is riding a pretty sophisticated vehicle with some vague similarities to Helldivers 1. According to our spy, Iron Sights, there is little to no information about this one besides being named Flayer. It kind of looks like an illusionist or council member, minus a limb or two. Next we see wait, is that a Scion? There is no way Bungie had a hand in funding the Illuminate faction all along. That's really something. Oh, wait, no, that's its own thing. These things do share a lot of the same features as the Cabal and the Covenant from Halo. This Arc Warlock looking thing is called the Summoner, and holds a weapon that can take the form of a disc, sword, and a whip. This enemy supposedly likes to wrap around the player and is very agile in the air, which gives the player a hard time to hit. Next is the hulking Brute Illuminate, with a body that looks built to shred any players to threads. Unfortunately, this photo and render is the only information we have about this enemy, and there is no known name for it. Now, if you ever stop to a halt looking at the havoc being unleashed by the Bile Titans on the fiery lands of Hellmire, you may want to take a look at this extremely unsettling walker thing. I mean, it's literally called an Illuminate walker. Here, Ironsights puts its size against a Titan Fiend, and while it's not got the long piercing legs of a Titan, it does match its very imposing height. Moving on to more of the Reddit leaks, we can see a render of the Stalker enemy, a very visible enemy that apparently shoots 6 to 8 projectiles out of its many holes. We did not cover it in the previous Helldivers 1 section, but it does look inspired by two information-based units called the Observer and the Watcher from the last game, who scout for Helldivers information and weaknesses, so maybe it has a similar purpose. To top off our actual enemies, we have this also very looking Scion fella called the Outcast. It shares a name with a Helldivers 1 enemy that was loosely based on its counterpart, the Apprentice. The Outcast was formed to fight on the battlefield for being a disgrace to the Illuminates, because their knowledge was too insufficient to become an illusionist. Some notes about the Helldivers 2 one is that it's roughly the size of the player. It can dodge by rolling and flipping around the battlefield, almost like a Dark Souls boss. It can pull out a sudden Hadouken attack on the player and fire a pure energy ball out of its hand. It is one that is summoned by other Illuminate and will rise out of the ground in a portal-like fashion. It also allegedly knows forms of jujitsu and is extremely fast on its feet. Imagine being a proud soldier on the battlefield serving your country and having hands unbeknownst to you thrown at Mach speed. Another interesting thing is that it can be seen praying and worshipping another type of entity. This causes a lot of questions. We have never seen this type of behavior on either Terminids or automatons. So what are these guys up to? Looking at other posts, there is one of a similar build, but in a very authoritative cloak referred to as the Elder that leads these worship ceremonies. Probably something akin to Super Earth democracy officers. We can also see renderings of Illuminate statues praying. Ironsights had this to say.
After looking at various models and animations, I have developed a theory on the Illuminate. The Illuminate has been able to come in contact with some sort of ethereal deity. The Illuminate can be seen praying to or worshipping this deity across multiple models. This deity then bestows weapons and magic onto the Illuminates in exchange for their full loyalty. It seems that the Illuminate have started using some sort of dark magic in conjunction with their high-tech weaponry. Since then, the Illuminate have taken on a more mysterious look, commonly seen in tattered robes.
If this is the case, we can infer that after nearly being wiped out by Super Earth all of those years back in Helldivers 1, the Illuminate had to adapt their lives and move towards a cult-like society that gained strength from this supposed deity, and may have forcefully evolved as a result. This idea could also be backed up by more rough models and the fact they have 4 freaking arms for combat instead of 2. Honestly, I back up this theory for the simple reason that we have a hunch on who the Illuminate patron god is. Apart from some very Destiny-like weapons that these new foes wield, that pretty much wraps up our intel that our spies have been able to find. This just in. New classified intel about the Illuminate have made their way into Super Earth's hands. While the last segment was being produced, new information has surfaced about our Illuminate friends, which most definitely further exemplifies the claim that they'll be added anytime soon to Helldivers 2. Many high-quality renders from our good friends Ironsights have been produced to show the community more of what we could expect. We will quickly sum this newfound information, so spoilers inbound. The Illuminate Walker is actually named the Illuminate Tripod, and shares a name with a Helldivers 1 enemy that is a lesser variant of the Striders we talked about earlier. It also allegedly has a foghorn that it blasts in battle. These giant brute enemies are named ghouls, and were resized after some updates, and are actually small and nimble enemies that will dance around the player and attack in rapid succession. And these sophisticated Illuminate flyers are actually named illusionists, which honestly makes a whole lot of sense given the similarities they share as mentioned earlier. All of these animations look very unique, and I am genuinely curious and excited about how they will play in game. Back to the final segment of the broadcast. A lot of the community has been divided in opinions after Arrowhead CEO Pillisted's recent tweets regarding many reports of suspicious blue light formations and even blue laser beams of arc energy directly focusing on our fellow Helldivers. To many, these strange phenomena may insinuate many beliefs that an Illuminate attack is approaching fast and steadily, but Pillisted sternly claims blue beams aren't real, it can't hurt you, against all evidence being put forward to support the Illuminate blue beam hypothesis. However, many of the Helldivers that originally reported this claim have gone back on their word after re-evaluating the gravity of proposing such a narrow theory. Good thing I don't have to report them to proper democracy officers for this. Despite the close call of heresy, there may be some truth in many blue beam reports after all. Just 3 days prior to Pillisted's denial of the phenomena, he publicly refuted the existence of flying terminids being spotted among the battlefield. The Ministry of Truth backed up this claim too. Though, what's interesting to see is that only just a few days ago, the Ministry of Intelligence had officially confirmed their existence. I swear I didn't suggest the Ministry going back on their word. It was my neighbor, I promise. I'm just repeating what they said. I realized that Pillisted believed in flying bugs the whole time. Have a look.
In regards to the Mo-Int report on a new, previously unseen flying bug, I want to be very clear. I have always believed there to be a possibility of flying bugs. Everyone knows that most bugs fly, and it was only a matter of time before this strain would evolve naturally. And to those unpatriotic citizens that question the timing of TCS and termicide testing and deployment, this is completely coincidental and unrelated. 9 out of 9 reputable and Super Earth sanctioned scientists agree.
While it'd be high treason to say the government is messing with our perception of what we know, it is still a very interesting connection to make that with Pillisted's original red herring comment disregarding the existence of blue beams. And furthermore, the Illuminate race, it may actually imply their presence in Helldivers 2 universe as exemplified by flying terminid controversy. All in all, this constant communication to the Helldivers community has been nothing short of very positive reinforcement to the integrity and reputation the Helldivers team has been upholding. The constant in-game lore tidbits alongside rewards and punishment based on the outcome of major orders should also be appraised as good involvement by the devs. It is very refreshing to see a live service game with a very vocal company at its head, and one that plays along with the tone of the game. Not for a long time has a community seen developers this transparent about what's to come for their game in terms of content and appreciation for their fans, and especially not in such a creative way. Hillstead has set the standard for interactions from figureheads in the gaming industry, and I, for one, really appreciate it, and truly hope we continue to keep up this enthusiasm for Helldivers 2 in the years to come. Kudos to our favorite democracy officer. The raging war is still full speed ahead, and has zero indicator of stopping anytime soon. With Hillstead and the Arrowhead team upholding their super values when it comes to their community, we will continue to annihilate the Terminid threat and push them back all the way to Zagon Prime. And the fight on the automatons at Malevelon Creek still roars with anticipation. But I say we should keep our guard up in preparation for our future battles with these Illuminates. It was extremely interesting at looking at the history of these squid-like guys, and it was exciting to speculate how we may encounter them in fights to come. It seems Arrowhead are concentrated on some very well thought out and polished changes to the Illuminate race in terms of combat and lore, while still keeping their familiar yet striking demeanor and intimidation factor high before they officially join the fight in the Galactic War. I for one can't wait to start the assault against them, and we'll be going a mile to tell legendary tales of our new foes in future videos. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Keep the fight for our freedom up and high. I'll see you on stream at EvanF1997, where we can Helldive together. And until next time, Evan signing out.